Let's see what happens here. I'm fairly certain, since this is a test, an experiment.
The stream is live.
Google's new policy, OMG, on what do you call it? And how do I know if where's my stream? How do I find my own stream? Your channel. There it is. Look at that. There we go. It says live. Let's see how this works.
Rookie.
There's also a link in there for Twitter. Look at that. So there, we may only get 1 or 2 people in here. Anyway, the stream is up, stream is live. Cletus is here. Who's Cletus? I don't know. Tell us who you are, Cletus.
I'm just the voice of reason.
The voice of reason. He does have a good laugh, if nothing else. He's got that going for him.
I'm the voice of reason for when you get off on a tirade, right? I can try to reel us in.
You could save me from going off the cliff.
There you go.
I'm sure if there ever is an audience, they'll probably be asking you to push.
No.
What?
I'm unable to find him on YouTube.
Say what?
All right.
I thought it was Sergeant Friday 790.
Not anymore. No, it's Bruno Pellicano.
All one word?
No, Bruno and then space Pellicano.
Pellicano.
That's correct.
What's the fucking profile picture?
Him.
Me. Hey, you mean to tell me the woman that you purport to be marrying someday after 7 years of proposals is having a hard time with just a few letters and pictures?
I know, right? She's working on it. She'll find it.
Well, there's supposed to be one person watching. It's probably me watching myself. So that now, if we actually have the stream and start talking, then we're talking to me.
Yeah, if you've got it up in YouTube.
There's 4 people on Twitter though.
Hey, there you go.
Got that going for us, right? I mean,
hey, I'm listening to you. If nothing else, that's
Well, you got to start somewhere, I guess. And then we got the fucking comedy show behind you, the Peanut Gallery. Oh, and let's see, that's her name really isn't Cluey, but I'm not really at liberty to share her first name. But it is what it is. It's Cluminati. All right, so listen. So I'm on this rampage, and I'm going to continue this rampage until we can get other people to join the rampage. And the rampage is that we're all a bunch of feckless, do-nothing losers that come out here and complain and dream and imagine and cause all kinds of conversation that gets us absolutely nowhere, solves nothing, does nothing, except possibly satiate the need for endorphins to be released in our brain to keep us sitting in our seats so that we can continue to complain and do nothing. And that's about the gist of it there, Cletus.
So it's the cycle of outrage, right?
That's the cycle of outrage. It's I don't know, man. It's like the kissing booth at the fair has been turned into free hand jobs, and everybody just keeps getting back in line. I don't
know. No, it is, right? It's the complacency in outrage or something. I don't know.
Right.
We could coin all kinds of phrases to name it, but that's essentially what it is.
And the complacency it's overwhelming. It's and the best thing is nobody sees it as complacency.
No, really. I mean, yeah, it's back to the conversation we had the other day, right? It's you get lost in it, you get wrapped up in it, you get addicted to it, and the next thing you know, it's a year and a half later. All you've lost is time and a few points on your blood pressure, and yeah, that's about the accomplishment of that time spent.
Right.
So,
and
yeah.
And in all fairness, just for the 6 people that are in here on Twitter and me, I'm the audience on YouTube. So just in case I don't hear what I'm saying, I'll hear it later coming through. Anyway, yeah, I'm confused. I'm going to go over. We're going to share some information about Google's new policy, and it's a scoop. It was put out by Christopher F. Rufo, RUFO. Dude's got 640,000 followers. He works at City Journal. He's a Manhattanist from Hillside at New York Times. He's got a Substack, and he's followed by 121 of my 2,300 followers. So he's like He's one of those mystery. He's got on his big boy pants on social media. He wears social media big boy pants. And today he brought to us this very special bit of information that he claims is a scoop, and it's probably being scooped out of his big boy pants, but I'll defer to that to a later date. And yeah, so he's got this. Did you breeze through that article at all there, Cletus?
I clicked on the link. I don't see an article. I just see the the statement, right? That says scoop. That's all I really see.
I'll review it for the audience because this reporter put in a lot of time and effort. I mean, he's built a big audience. His entire career and his earning potential for the rest of his natural life, whatever that may be, depends upon his ability to provide you with important news and information I'm just sure better his own life, but under the guise of bettering your life, right? Because that's what reporters are doing. They're supposed to better our lives.
Oh yeah.
But for the betterment of his own condition of whatever existence he has here on our planet, we share together, Earth. He put together this scoop, and it starts out with Google has launched an anti-racism initiative claiming that America is a system of white supremacy, and that all Americans are raised to be racist, including Ben Shapiro, which anyway. And then he was depicted as a layer of the white supremacist pyramid, culminating in genocide. Now, he goes on to continue to show you what Google is doing. He's obtained a trove of whistleblower documents from inside Google that reveal the company's extensive racial re-education program based on core tenets of critical race theory, including intersectionality, white privilege, and systematic racism. In a model called Allyship in Action, Google trained employees to deconstruct their racial and sexual identities and then rank themselves on a hierarchy of power and privilege. So this guy goes into this extensive discussion and review of this noise that's coming out of this, documents he claims exist and we've yet to see. He hasn't given us any. It's supposed to be a secret source. It's like a secret sauce that you put on your wings, or I think, I'm not sure. And
it sounds spicy for sure.
And so so you could read the whole article in the guy's City Journal. Now he's working on a 10-part investigative series on woke capital, and you could sign up for his free newsletters to get the latest stories. So if you have an interest in knowing just exactly how egregious and obnoxious and insane Google is behaving, this guy can keep your that space between your balls and ass tickled, right? He's a taint tickler. He's like a taint worshiper, taint whisperer. He's a taint whisperer, as are most of these people with these big accounts on Twitter and YouTube. They're taint whisperers, and they tickle your taint. What do you think about that, Cletus?
I say they taint tickling nothing.
Taint tickling your taint. You got a taint tickler already at the house.
I don't know. I find the whole topic of supremacy, regardless of the color you put in front of it, just funny to me. Right? It's another tool that it seems to be used to turn us all against each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of that one statement that in that tweet that you had sent is all I've read, and I'm sitting here looking at it, and I see key phrases and words in quotations, right? Anti-racism, system of white supremacy, raised to be a racist, white supremacy pyramid, and then the word genocide. And I'm like, why, if Google put this out, why are you putting these words in quotations? And why aren't you speaking on the fact that this is a tool used to divide people instead of just the premise of, oh, Google's doing this? Because Google's just one of many. You know what I mean?
Oh, one of many, one of all. I mean, it's not even
right.
many, it's one of all, right? And here's the best part about this. When you scan through this guy's thing, it's this is like, man. If I'm a hammer, okay, these are the nails, and it's the replies of the people that fucking respond to them. What do they say? Mark Cuban even responds to this guy. So this obviously gives the guy lots of followers, right? Mark Cuban, he's a big deal.
Right.
He's a billionaire. He's a big, Mark Cuban, right? He has an
Well,
interest in doing what's right for the majority of people, doesn't he?
well, at the end of the day, it's posted on social media, right? But the key word being media. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I mean, I've until 2020, I hadn't watched the news in I don't know how long. And the only thing I got from watching it during that time that I did was outrage. And it's like, I don't understand why somebody that's well off, that's done well for themselves and is in a position of what people would view as power would even contribute to this in any way, shape, or form. I
Well,
mean,
to contribute to this, their whole goal is to keep themselves in power and in the know and in the circle. And that goes for all your people in politics and all your people in big business like Cuban. They participate in this stuff and get involved because they want it to be relevant to the people that they're going to control. Right?
yeah, and I think one of the most powerful things would be for somebody like that to get involved by completely ignoring it. Does that make
Well,
sense? Show that there is a better way. Show that you don't have to let it outrage you. You don't have to let it divide you. You
but
don't
that
have
doesn't
to
help
let it.
Mark. That doesn't help them people. It doesn't help the people that are there doing it.
Well, it doesn't in the goal that they're after, but it could if they would choose to chase the other path, right?
Well, I suppose if they chose to do something different, and that would be a big deal, but it wouldn't be self-serving. It would have to be selfless, and I'm not sure many people are capable of that in today's modern world. If we read more of these common people now reply, right? Because now you got Cuban in there, you got this big, I'm a reporter for the people kind of fucking guy in here, and he's telling you how harmful and hateful and crazy and insane Google is. The
Well, and
response from the common person is, I know Google is trash for years. Oh, that's nice. You're a fucking educated man. Another one says, wow, this is outrageous and stating the obvious here, but still worth saying. This is absolutely not isolated to Google. Don't forget the 22 issue with the word mother. This all seems quite racist and sexist. No joke, my little sister's Dachshund hates black people. He's not even trained to. He just senses something. This is nuts. I switched to DuckDuckGo. There's someone. Probably only got a few followers. Yep, this guy's only got 37 followers. His taint hasn't been tickled yet.
well,
And
and I think
his natural inclination was to suggest or at least offer up a solution to the problem with Google, right?
well, and a lot of times we've had a lot of conversations about taking action, right? And an experience I had once upon a time was a company was trying to push a certain thing, and they had a company wide meeting, and it's a large corporation, right?
Right.
And they were trying to push that every employee was going to have to do this, and it is what it is. And I would say better than 3/4 of the company privately contested that, and ultimately the company didn't follow along with it. But there was no huge outrage about it. It was just everybody handled their business and shared their feelings in a private manner about the situation, and that action led to a result. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes I wonder if stuff like this, instead of everybody just getting outraged about it, if everybody would privately handle their piece of it, then the message of hate that I think this guy that put this out is triggered by wouldn't be continued. The cycle would stop, right? And then it's up to the people that are employed by Google or any other company to privately
Well,
handle that situation and make a choice for themselves of I'm going to go along with this or I'm not.
yeah, but a lot of people don't have that choice anymore. Look what they did to us with masks. But on the same note of people replying, Norm Matloff says there's lots of Asians that work at Google, and he wonders if they fit into this scheme. And these things are being. There's 3 people so far in all of these replies. I can keep going through. Only 3. Well, here's a young woman says don't use Google. She don't have many followers either. But anybody that suggests something that's an alternative to Google Google, which whether they realize it or not is the answer to this problem with Google, is to just in mass walk the fuck away and don't use it no more, right?
Yeah.
That's how you straighten out Google. And none of the people in this guy, they're all telling him to continue on with his 10-part series, which has done nothing in the way of bringing Google to heel or changing Google's actions or behavior. Or even worse, nobody is addressing whether some of the points they're making aren't valid. And yet when you read for the people that are supporting this reporter and someone says there's a lot of Asians working there, could that be part of the problem? That is a bigoted fucking comment, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
Right. And when we go after other people like that, regardless of who you fucking vote for, I think actions like that are mean-spirited and bigoted. And when the other side tells us that you're bigoted, we all get offended. Yes, there are many people amongst us that are very bigoted, right? And I'm sure that they're not in daily life when they go to the market. But they do show that kind of twist up here on social media.
You know, I don't think bringing awareness to stuff like this is a bad thing. I think it's one of those things where people have got to make the choice, right, of how they handle it. You can make the choice of contributing to the outrage over it, or you can decide how how much does this go against who I am, and what am I going to choose to support that company, or am I not, right? And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, or going back to what I was saying earlier. At the end of the day, you said, well, we don't have that choice, but we always have a choice, right? Even the whole mask thing, everybody had a choice. Now they may tell you didn't, but I would beg to differ with all kinds of videos and
I
things
agree
like
with you.
that.
Everybody has, however, a lot of people were faced with the choice of losing their job or wearing a mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that choice shouldn't have been. It's like the choice between President Trump or Biden. It's good, it's bad or worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no matter, and listen, it's not just the presidency. When you vote for governors and you vote for mayors and you vote for senators and you vote, your choice is always between bad, good, the bad or worse, right?
Well, yeah.
So there is really no choice.
Well, or a choice of a completely different lifestyle that doesn't truly involve what
Right.
It's not directly or immediately impacted by the choice everybody else makes in that two-part. When there's two options and everybody else makes a decision on which option is the best, you can adopt a lifestyle where it doesn't impact you. Now, it's not an easy thing to do, but at the end of the day, it's still a choice you could make.
You can't get people to come together and agree to take any action in fucking unison with one another unless it's to get onto Twitter or social media and be jerk offs.
I don't disagree with that.
That's almost like an unspoken agreement amongst the masses. It's perfectly fine to get up here and fucking trample on some Asians and some guy to cut off his dick. But it's totally unacceptable to talk about how we change our society for the better and learn to solve these fucking problems, which are easily solvable. Every one of them. It's not a big deal, right? And yet, why do that when you could just come out here and be a jerk?
Well, and I think one of the things that could have been beneficial to to this post would have been to define anti-racism, define the word racist, define the word genocide, define some of those terms in a real definition, because I think there's a subjective nature that's come into society about each of these terms.
But that's never going to. It ends up being a very small conversation, Cletus. Like the conversation we're having has no impact on anything at all.
Right.
At this point, right? We can agree or disagree and do it in an adult-like way, and it has no impact on anything until we start to get people following. That's why I figured it's more important to get people following and by letting them know they're a bunch of stupid, brainless idiots. and I'm not sure how effective that's going to be, but that is absolutely my forte.
I can't argue with you on that one.
I mean, how stupid do Americans need to be to not see that both sides are getting the same kind of nonsense and both sides are hating on each other the same way? And for everyone that's on our side that's a bigot, there's one on your side that's a bigot.
Yeah.
And look at it's perfectly fine for us all to be bigots. I just don't have an issue with that. You could be bigoted all you want. It don't hurt me. But how does that change all of our money going over Ukraine? How does that change all of your data being stolen from you? Well, not even stolen. You dumb bastards are just giving it away, me included. Okay, right? And none of those things that can change anything are ever addressed or ever agreed upon or discussed or compromised on. It's all the level of who's a bigger bigot.
Yeah, I mean, it's complacency in the situation, right? We're all complacent and accepting of, okay, there's always just two sides and they're always at war. And, the vast majority of us have got to pick a side. And at the end of the day, if we look at really what it's all fundamentally about, what the entire conflict is about, in most conflicts that exist, there's absolutely no point in it. So to support either side, it is ridiculous, really.
Right. Because something, the real support belongs down the fucking center, where in fact there is. This I just can't wrap my head around, but somewhere in our documents, in our Bill of Rights or something, isn't there some kind of statements or some kind of song or some kind of lyrics or something that says, you have the right to be free, to live your life, and there's something to that effect. Isn't that the whole purpose of this country?
Yeah,
I'm a bit confused. I mean, is that the country we live in?
Well, it's the country that I think is presented to us that we live in, but at the end of that statement, it's always followed with something like what this guy put out, right? We live in a free country, but white people are being attacked as white supremacists by Google, right? And it's like, at the end of the day, I mean, I look at it like this: if Google feels that way, okay, okay, feel that way.
And what Google's doing is they're playing to a sector of the country that sees that and wants to buy into that. Remember I said I don't get mad when people call me names and attack me, because sometimes, well, most times there's truth in what they're saying. Not everything,
right?
But there's enough truth in it to make me laugh. It's like, well, at least they do know something about me. And there is bigotry on both sides. There is hate on both sides. There is racism on both sides. There really is.
Well, I mean, if there wasn't, then there wouldn't be such a thing as a side, would there?
Right. But what I'm saying is that we're both guilty of that. Both sides are guilty of the same sins or the same wrongs. Let's stay away from religious stuff. Both sides have their own, cans of full of the same wrongs.
Yeah.
And nobody talks about anything but those wrongs. Now, what Google doing is wrong. But if you don't want Google to do that, then talking about it only helps Google, because you're not doing anything about it, right? The term talk is cheap.
Yeah, I mean, what did you say? This guy's got 620,000 followers or something, right? So if
40,700.
So if that many people click on this article and then go to search for something else, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to open a web browser, and the vast majority of them are going to go to Google to search for something related to that. So they're, yeah.
Right. And all you're doing is the company that and I'm not going to take a side here, because I'm in the middle, and I think more of us need to stand in the middle and stand there long enough until it sinks in that we all belong in the middle. All of us. There should be no right, left. There should just be a middle. We're all Americans. We're all in the same fucking country, breathing the same fucking air.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. I mean, I look at, sometimes that means, I'll give you an example. This is a great example of me being in the middle. On one side of me, I got a neighbor I don't really care for. Okay. But I deal with him as friendly and as covert, as I have to. On the other side of me, I got a neighbor I can't stand. Right. And I don't deal with him at all. But there's no rift in these three residents. All right. One's a stout left wing. There's me, and then the other guy is kind of a left wing, kind of a conservative, kind of guy's confused. And so you've got the three different things here. And there's no outward conflict. There's no interference of anybody's life. Everybody goes about their business, enjoys whatever it is they want to enjoy. And I'm even a peace enough maker to let their dogs bark and sometimes drive me crazy and not say anything about it to them. Right. That's my contribution to keeping the peace. And we
But
all need to find our space in a way to do that with each other.
well, and I think the magic that exists that creates the ability for you and your neighbors to do what you're talking about is having an understanding, right? If your neighbor that's a left winger, right? If you just knew that if you saw something they posted on social media and it was very left leaning, and you immediately took offense to that and shut them down and wouldn't give them the time of day, then that's a problem. But if you get to know them and understand them, you can understand where your differences lie, understand,
Right.
what you can and can't talk about with each other, and avoid conflict or get into at least a healthy debate about, and what you can't. And you can maintain some type of a relationship that's not centered around I hate you and you hate me.
True. True. But in sometimes, like I said, life is short and I don't have time to sometimes, I have there's people that are true crime creators that should be actually true crime toilet papers. They shouldn't be created. And so when they show their colors, I don't invest any time in them at all, or even try to find, because there's just too many people in the world to spend time with that don't require that extraneous fucking effort to find a middle ground. So I guess I'm guilty of that. But in the general scheme of things, when we look at the issues of the day, where they throw out the gender issue, the sexuality issue, they throw out the global warming issue, they throw out the issues of war in the Ukraine, they throw out issues of taxes, they throw out these issues. There's middle ground for everybody, and it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, or what you think. And that's really always where the solution lies, because there's no other. Where else can you have a solution if you have two people that are from two different understandings, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they set it up so that we hate each other, we fight each other, we bicker with each other, and we look for things to needle each other over, like this big Google article, and everybody that wants to join in the research and dig more and to find more shit to needle the other side with. It's like that's how is that time well spent? I just don't get it.
Well, and then we fund and fuel that the ammunition that they give us, right, by getting drawn to it. We constantly scroll through YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or whatever and look for the thing that's going to trigger us based on our belief system, instead of talking to somebody that may have a completely different belief system and understanding a little bit about them, and that, hey, it's not, it just because they see things differently than us or live a different way than we do doesn't mean we have to be at odds. It just means that we have to clearly define, this is who I am, that's who you are, and this is the middle ground that we can stand on together.
Right. I mean, aren't the Amish a great example of that?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
I mean, they are an extreme, and I'm not saying we should all break off in individual camps like that, but in the end, if you're a Catholic or a Protestant or a Baptist or a Jehovah Witness, you all basically surround yourself around Christ and God, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's differences amongst you, but there's commonalities that allow you to. I mean, you do have common ground, and in situations like your religion. And I brought this up the other day. For thousands of years, people point to the Bible about how bad homosexuality is,
Yeah.
and really, what they're not understanding is that the human condition has included homosexuality for many thousands and thousands of years, right? It's not. It's like it's nothing new. And aren't we mature enough now to say, okay, that's fine, right? And not demean and degrade and put these people in a defensive mode, because our religion tells us that it's a sin, that you're going to go to hell, that you're insulting God. That's great. If you want to live by that understanding and that belief, I want you to do that. But that doesn't give you permission to attack the person that's gay.
No,
Right?
I agree with that, and I think the reason that what I see a lot, and you and I were having this conversation a little bit before this, is that whole outrage over just the concept in and of itself is pushed, right? It's pushed on one half of the population to be outraged that even exists. It's pushed on the other half of the population that the half that's outraged is not accepting. So now you have both sides outraged and nobody talking to each other because they believe there is absolutely no possibility for middle ground.
I'll tell you, I just remember this guy's name. You know, there is one guy out there that's very successful, I think, in doing some of the things that I'm hoping to get to do here. And his name is called Scott Pressler. And I'll put a link in the room for people to his account on Twitter. But see, Scott Pressler proves that Republicans aren't anti-gay. He is gayer than gay. But he's also, listen, he's also the only one that I've ever seen, okay, come forward, be who he is, go out door to door, register voters to vote for Trump, support Republicans, support the issues of the Republican beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he does it in such a cheerful, happy manner. This he's probably got 10 million miles under his feet doing this because he's been doing it for years. He's got 1.5 million followers. And he does that concentrate a ton on bringing new voters and converting voters from Democrat to Republican. And you rarely see any. In the beginning, he was attacked, but you rarely see anybody go after this guy. And even his banner says there's 3.6 black million kids in poverty. Why did Democrats choose illegal aliens first? And that's a very, very valid point.
No, it is. It is a valid point, right? Yeah, I mean, we. I don't know.
The reason I went that way is because I'm telling you, most of us are not bigoted racist. But yet it seems to me that when you start looking at some of these big Twitter accounts, they do kind of lean that way.
Well, I mean, it's not just Twitter, right? You look anywhere at anything, right? And you're gonna find the you're gonna find the side that's supporting a new outrage or an outrage from one side toward another. And sometimes it'll be little hints of it. You know, sometimes it'll be a full out attack and it'll just be completely blatant, but it exists everywhere. It really does. I saw an article today talking about social media has created a distraction in Sebastian Rogers, this missing 15-year-old kid, you know, and what was funny was that article was written and published and posted by the very individual that put out a video and basically implied that it was flashlights in a backyard, trying to imply that this was video proof that somebody took this kid from his home.
All right, let's cover that from the beginning and do it slowly. So I'm going to frame this. There's a young missing autistic child in Tennessee. A news reporter, a professionally paid news reporter, presented the public with a video and inferred that video showed two people walking away from the child's house with flashlights. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
And that video in no way, shape, or form was what was on the video. It was what were the lights that people were seeing in the video that he let people believe and led people to believe were two people with flashlights? What were the images? What were the lights actually of?
So what we've been told is they were actually of a garbage truck, and what we can only assume are the workers collecting the cans.
Okay. And this was done at a distance and done in such a way, and just by whether they manipulated the feed or not, we don't know. But their presentation of the feed was that was Sebastian and maybe his mother or somebody, two people leaving that property. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, that's just my personal opinion from what I
watched the video too. That ain't no
right. That's what I'm saying. Right. And I mean, it's blown up, right? It blew up when it came out. And I've thought a lot about it. And the way I read the post that was made about it when it was released, that's what I took from it, right? Is that's what you're implying. That's what you're inferring.
And that guy put it on TV as well, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And to find out that that was not the case, and then to see an article get posted today saying that, so social media and media has become a distraction, and theories and false information has become a distraction to law enforcement in finding this kid, and seeing that article put out by the same individual, I just it blew my mind. But because I'm I'm sitting here going, now you're trying to create outrage.
Wait. Stop for a second. So you're saying the guy that created this false video, or at least presented a video that was false, but interpreted to look like it had something to do with the kid. That same guy posted an article about people coming and confusing the issue with false news.
Right.
So the guy that created and presented a massive false news story that he actually set up as a drama, where I have more video. He's got a complete clip, and he sets it up so he gets all these viewers, and that clip is a fake clip. Is now writing articles telling people that it's that the problem with the media and YouTubers and whatever is that they're providing fake information. They shouldn't do it.
Right. I mean,
so this guy's name is Nick Barris from Fox 5. Who is this guy?
News Channel 5 in Nashville. Okay. Yeah.
And I genealogy girl. I don't know if you can see her. She's in the Twitter stream. You probably can't see her. Maybe you're in StreamYard. You could see her in the chat.
No, I can't see anything. I've got the tweet up that you had posted. So.
All right, so she chops up all these clips, and I want you to, I don't know how far into this we are, but it says here where it, I don't even know. Whatever we are right now, I'd like you to take note of this and chop this out of the clip, and we're going to start posting it on Nick Barris's Twitter, okay? And I expect everybody in here to come to my stream, pick up that clip, and post it. And here's what we need to say. Nick Barris encouraged the public to believe that a video that he claims were showing people walking through a backyard connected to the abduction or the missing or the runaway of a 15-year-old autistic child, that video purported to have connections to that case. It was shot in the dead of night at around 3:10 a.m. It fit the timeline. The way the video was presented made it look like two people walking with a flashlight. And that whole presentation that he gave the public was a bunch of bullshit. Lying, fabricated bullshit. That same man is now out on social media and through his news network chastising the public for providing information that's false to the authorities and causing problems with the investigation. That's the kind of piece of shit that works at Fox News 5, and his name is Nick Barris.
It's not Fox. I don't know what network.
All right, Nick Barris. Go find out where whatever station he is. So forget that I said Fox. But here's a guy that puts a video out, lets everybody think it's showing this young kid being led away from his home at 3:10 a.m. And in fact, it's not. It's garbage trucks way off in the distance. And his name is Barris. And this son of a gun then has the nerve to come forward later after he stops and hides from the video, never brings up or plays the second half. He said he had more video, right or wrong, when he did his TV show.
No, he did. He said he had more.
He had more video to come. And he drops this on a Friday, and he gets all these views and all of these hits and all of his attention on a fake-ass video that had absolutely nothing to do with the investigation, and in fact probably hampered the investigation because the police were like, holy shit, look at that. Right.
Well, and in fairness, I mean, that video in and of itself and the drama that was created because of it, it drew a lot of attention to the situation. And I would argue that it drew some of it created an opportunity for some of the distraction that he's talking about that is valid, but nevertheless, he's definitely not the one to be,
well, he's got the king. Listen, he's got the trophy for the biggest distraction of all.
Right. Yeah. That's
right or wrong.
No, that's 100% in this situation. That is what it is.
The guy's name again, you say it is what? Nick
Barris.
Nick Barris. Nick Barris distracts this. Look, it takes all the focus off the missing kid and places it on him in that video. And then later comes out when other stuff people have said have had a similar effect, but nowhere as far reaching as this. This guy's part of a news network.
Well, and the point of bringing that up for me is, we go out and we're passing out flyers. We're going out, we're searching, we're driving the roads, we're looking, we're doing what we can to help in any way we can. We're also streaming this. So essentially we are social media, but we're doing the things that we need to do. But he doesn't point out anything about that. He strictly just groups social media and, in my opinion, attacks social media in this article. And at the end of the day, like what he did was the biggest offense to this situation, and then is going to group everybody else into the opposite offender. And at the end of the day, there does exist a middle ground, right? Where anybody, people bringing awareness to it through the media in a responsible way, the most responsible way they can, and at least in their heart trying to truly help instead of grift. That's a good thing. We've and it's just one of those things that I think it's created. I've seen it today. I've seen it this week. It's created a situation where now you've added to that war that exists between mainstream and social media. And it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. Well, the worst part about this, he is a grifter. I'm glad you used that word. And the worst part about people grifting like that is, it's so self-serving, and it didn't take that long for people to realize that clip was fake, right or wrong.
No, I mean, I think we looked at it for about 5 or 10 minutes, and we had our initial impression of it, and then stepped back and looked, and we're like, this is a video of taken with a phone or a camera or something close up onto a screen. It wasn't even the full frame; it was just a piece of the frame. So we couldn't get a full perspective of what we were actually looking at.
Well, let me ask you this. So wait. Are you saying that Mr. Nick Barris could have deciphered that this was video that was useless?
I think it would have been. I think the responsible thing to have done is, instead of releasing a zoomed in 3x5 frame of a bigger picture, just release the bigger picture so that everybody can determine for themselves what it is. That would have been the responsible, constructive thing to have done, in my opinion.
Also framing it in a way that warns people. This in no way, shape, or form can be said to have anything to do with this incident, but it is something to take a peek at.
Right.
Yeah. And he didn't do that. He let everybody believe that this was absolutely part of this, or could be part of this, and that this, in fact, may show two people walking through a yard at 3:10 a.m. The guy, what a loser that guy is. And he did it for his own personal, gain. A few viewers, a few clicks. We've reduced ourselves to almost rats, right?
Yeah.
Looking for views and clicks. Views and clicks equal money. So it's always about money. But really, a professional reporter, Nick Barris, I don't know what profession you're supposed to be in, but clearly reporting may not be the one.
Well, I mean, it's it's ultimately how it applies to this conversation is it's another example of turning one side against another, right?
Right.
But I think it is a good example to look at as to why, right? Social media and people that report via social media outlets that are independent have an impact on the attention that the mainstream media gets. So it's one of those things where anytime a shot from either side can be taken at one another, they do it. And it's like, at the end of the day, we should all just focus on the issue at hand and not create a new issue amongst each other.
So, and that's kind of what I pointed out a few times in my my ramblings and rantings, in that most of the issues, for instance, global warming, then nobody pays attention to the technology that's being discussed as a cure for that. And because it's being presented as a cure for that, people won't look at that technology at all for anything. And they've built up this wall and 1,000 reasons why they don't want to have any part of it, rather than trying to see that the electrification of the world would be an amazing change. It's the next thing, next level. Move us to the next, people don't want to have that. They won't have that conversation because they're not being offered that. They're not being presented the positive things how their lives could be bettered by going with electrification, right?
Well, but it's not that the information's not out there. It's that the common sources of entertainment don't present it. Is that fair? The common sources of you won't find that information on a mainstream media outlet. You won't find that information.
Find it on a Twitter account. You won't find it in a YouTube stream.
Right, because it's much cheaper and quicker and easier for somebody that's trying to make money from one of these media outlets, social or mainstream, either one, to just put out what will create outrage instead of put out the data and the actual logic and the data behind something that could be of benefit. Because at the end of the day, making a user think doesn't pay. Right? If they have to think about it instead of just react to it, that doesn't go over as well because everybody's just addicted to looking at the media outlets and finding something to react to instead of finding something to consume and actually think about.
Right, or even sometimes there's no real thinking involved. I mean, you could present things to people that make more sense if you live in a moderate climate, right?
Mhm.
And here's the thing: like electric cars are pretty fucking expensive right now. They have been for a while. They would be more affordable if more people were interested and more people were buying them. But if you do live in a moderate climate, you don't have to ever worry about oil changes, air filters, tune-ups, transmission problems, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like a gift, is it not?
Yeah.
You drive down dusty roads, you don't got to worry about plugging up your air filter. But my point is, there's so many upsides to it. There are downsides to it, and that's all we're allowed to focus on.
Right.
Right? People say, yeah, well, I know it doesn't need to. No, you didn't know that. You're just saying that because you don't want to really start to have a discussion of merit on the topic, which is never really given either side. Neither side has this topic. This guy thinks the world's going to turn into the match. It's going to burst into flames like a match head. So he wants an electric car and a windmill. And this guy over here don't want to have anything to do with an electric car because electric car, the grid, the this, the mileage, the this, and all the negative things against the car or the technology rather than. It's shocking how we've been caged into this little fucking arena of one or the other.
Yeah.
Where does Nick Barris work? I hate to jump off topic like that, but people are asking. He's a pollster?
No, he's a reporter for News Channel 5 in Nashville. I forget the call sign. WTVF maybe.
Okay, Nashville Channel 5.
Yeah, Nashville News Channel 5.
All right. And that guy's a loser for doing what he did. He should be out there every day, or at least making a big presentation and apologizing for doing what he did. Whatever excuse he's got to give to try to protect his taint, because what he did ain't no damn good. Okay.
No,
you don't put information out there on a missing child like that.
No, it's and it's again, it's just one example of a lot of situations, right? It's it really is. It's I don't know.
Well, and the other thing too is that what happened with the kids today? There was a press conference. They mentioned they found eyeglasses. There been any follow up on that?
That was another piece of the article he put out that sort of got me a little bit because underneath his title referring to social media creating a distraction, the subtitle was glasses found that could be Sebastian's. And I watched the press conference, and not one time did the officials say that. The question was asked if they were believed to be Sebastian's, and the response was, "We're still investigating." Now, yeah, you could on one side look at that and say, well, they could possibly be, but to put that out there as to imply or infer that that's what was told in the press conference is false because that's not what they said. That's an inference from what was said that now is created.
The same reporter that did the video with the lights at night is doing this with the glasses.
Right. And I mean, it's one of those things where this is, again, just another example. And he's one of many, right? He's not the only one that does this. But this specific example for this specific case and using these specific things absolutely shows that that's a problem that exists and it needs to stop.
This guy's a real piece of shit, isn't he?
I mean, for a long time I had supported him, and when this when this boy first went missing, I had even supported him. Right? When that video first came out, I looked at it and I said, well, this guy is a reputable source of information, has been and is a trusted source of information, and has been for a long time. And then I see this, and I'm intimately involved in this situation, and I see. Yeah, I should have never supported that because it's blatantly obvious to me now what it was.
Listen, when it first came out, the three you, Clue, and I were all looking at that. I was saying that ain't a flashlight. That's like cell phone lights.
Yeah.
Right. So we were trying to decipher a piece of video that was reduced to a size that didn't give us any perspective other than what they wanted us to see.
Mm-hmm.
And in that little view of what we wanted to see, with the context of a little boy that left, listen, here's the worst part about it all, folks. This little boy purportedly left his home with a flashlight. And this jerk off reporter, this is another thing you could send to his fucking feed, genealogy. This jerk off is showing a video of what appears to be two flashlights walking through his backyard. And they weren't. So it isn't like that he was just talking about an autistic kid. It was reported this child may in fact have left the house with a flashlight and no shoes. And Nick Barris is playing on the flashlight. Now Nick Barris is playing on glasses, of which the only true way to identify the glasses is to verify the prescriptions in the lenses. That's really, the parents may or may not be able to say, yeah, those are his or they are his. But regardless of what they say, you would need to verify the prescription of that lens to see if it matches what what young Sebastian was wearing, right?
Well, and then you would need to verify, not only that, you would need to verify from, in my opinion, some type of DNA match to it, right? You would need to verify how those glasses came to have been found and vet
Who
that
found them?
entire, right, who found them, where they found them, and then vet how they got there in every way you possibly can, until you figure it out or you run into a wall that you can go no further.
But I don't know if I would depend on DNA in the case of a missing child. I would depend on the prescription of that lens to send me in other words, that would be enough for me as an investigator to have interest in it.
Yeah, I
that
do
lens
agree.
Prescription matches young Sebastian. That's enough for me. And then you could send it to a lab for DNA, and we could find out before they get those results that it was a bad lead or it wasn't. Or
Right.
we can maybe when we get the results, we find out it's not his.
Yeah.
But it's a worthy thing to look at if the prescription matches his.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, but again, this guy, Nick Barris, leading the charge again on an issue that probably has nothing to do with the disappearance of this young boy, sending people down this field of hope, right? A field of suspicion. And it's all for what? For his own self-serving need for clicks.
Well, and the other side of that, though, is just as guilty, right? Because now that has been a huge thing on social media, right? That's been a huge thing that everybody's jumping on the bandwagon of, is the glasses have been found. Were his glasses found? And then all of the rumors and
theories and all
about how they were found and who found them and where they were found. I've heard 3 versions of where they were found and 2 versions of who found them today since this came out, right? And it's like, at the end of the day, if you're going to do something, you're going to report on something, and you got to consider that, there are people that are impacted by it, and be careful about what you say and how you say it, so that you don't put out misinformation or infer misinformation, right? And it's to see somebody
common sense from these people, and they refuse to even realize that it exists.
Well, and to see somebody that's in a profession of that, right? That's his career, that's his living, is reporting on things, and to attack the other side that's non-mainstream for putting out misinformation when he's blatantly shown in this very case he's guilty of the same thing, is just part of the problem that we're talking about here.
He's the centerpiece of doing it. This guy is the poster child for the same thing he's telling other people not to do. He's doing it himself on a scale grander than all of us, because he's a professional news reporter at an agency.
I don't disagree.
Scumbag is that guy? Unbelievable. And he doesn't have to, how is it that, man, it's so frustrating. Anyhow, yeah. So see the outrage and the emotion it causes, all of this scurry. and we get all caught up in that. And the bottom line, you know what the bottom line is? We all need to go shame Nick Barris. Just shame him.
Well, but the bottom line is, right, and this is what gets missed with the outrage from either side or from both sides. There is still a situation that needs to be addressed. There's still a child missing, right? The global warming thing you were talking about with cars, gas versus electric. At the end of the day, there is still ultimately there's a situation that lies in between both of those things that has to be addressed. Right.
And it
doesn't get addressed because there's outrage created from both opposing sides of it, instead of focusing on the issue at hand.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And what matters gets lost in the mix of these back and forth. That's what I mean. It's
just like the Google thing. it's just like the Google thing, right? That they're gonna, from what this guy is saying, it sounds like they're trying to trigger both sides of their group of employees, right? As one should be ashamed for the color of their skin, and the other should be outraged at the color of their skin because of the color of their skin, they have to be supremacists. And at
Right.
the end of the day, all that noise is going to do is take focus away from doing the business of Google.
And even from and the business of the people is what's getting stolen here. Because we get caught up in these, like, this is great that this happened because we're all susceptible to this. It is a addictive mistress, this outrage stuff.
Yeah.
And these people that initiate the outrage, right? And that guy, like I've said before, there's no bad advertising in the world. I'd rather have 1 million people talk shit about me so I could get 2 million viewers. Like, I'll give you an example. In 30 years in business, I've only got three positive referrals on the internet. And that might seem weird when I have hundreds and hundreds of completely satisfied customers and I have no complaints. But here's the deal. People don't report about a business that did what they said they were going to do and you paid them for it. Right?
No,
So
but
you completed the transaction as outlined above. There's that's it. That's the reward. The reward isn't now that person's going to run to the internet and start bragging about you. Right? There's just, who does that? Nobody. But if you screw up, or if there's a dispute, the first thing they do is run to the internet and show you how outrageous and how right? And they just start bashing you.
Yeah.
And luckily, knock on wood, I've really not encountered that. But that's the nature of how we've been conditioned. And the reward in doing the right thing is doing the right thing. But somehow we've been conditioned not to even compliment the right thing.
Well, we've been conditioned to where the reward in doing the right thing is pointing out the wrong thing. Instead of focusing on doing the right thing, we're conditioned to point out the wrong in everything else. And it's like, at the end of the day, if people would focus on just doing the right thing for themselves and for those around them, there's no time to point out the wrong thing, right? Like, I go back to this missing Sebastian Rogers situation. If people are out there putting out flyers, there are people that have no idea about that video that are actively partaking in the search and the efforts of finding him, and probably have absolutely no idea about that because they're focused on doing the right thing instead of hung up on pointing out the wrongs that are done by others in the situation.
Exactly. And we're looking from afar and we're trying to understand and see what it is they're showing us to try to understand what happened to this young boy, because we do care. And in the midst of even being an observer, you do get swept up in this fucking storm of chaos. Like, look at the Koberger case.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I
This
mean,
gentleman, Brian Koberger, is accused of killing 4 Idaho students.
right.
And look at all these creators, anyways, all these streamers that are, the girl's got 6 or 7 bank accounts. They got to make a stream about that and let your mind run wild on why this woman would have 6 or 7 bank accounts. Well, so do I. What does that mean? Well, it's just personal to each of us why you would have 1 or more banks, right? None of your fucking business. But what does that got to do with her death? Why is that even being brought up? When you see people watching videos and inferring things from the videos that are not there, let's be clear. And then getting people to go along with, in other words, all of this drama and all of this nonsense gets built. And what about this guy's on death row? He's facing a death penalty case for a case that any fair-minded individual looks at the data that's been presented so far. You would highly have to question whether this person did this or not. You wouldn't be sure.
Right.
Fair enough. Right.
But
Fair
yeah.
enough. Just like with Sebastian, nobody can say that he was abducted. Right.
Yeah.
Nobody can say he didn't run away. Nobody can make a determination.
No, I mean, it's a situation where right now there is no crime, but the cycle through the likely impossible or even possible suspects of what could end up being a crime is already being played through, right? It's already went from the stepfather. I'm seeing it turn now toward the mother and the biological father. And it's like, at the end of the day, there's not even a crime here. and it's that in and of itself is a distraction from actually doing, from the situation at hand, and that is that there's a missing kid.
Right. There's a missing child, a 15-year-old child who has some level of autism, and he's missing, and everybody's caught up on the sideshow. And everything turns into a sideshow because we've been conditioned to be the sideshow. Believe it or not, right? Do you see any sense in that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's the viewer that drives the need for the sideshow. It's the creator is culpable, right? But it's the actual audience that's the problem. That's why I've said in all my other streams, we're our own worst enemy.
Well, and I mean, like we were talking about the other day, the creator ultimately originated as an audience member, right? So,
Yeah.
most creators originate as an audience member and get, they learn just like a musician, right? You ask a musician, who are your influences? You ask a creator, who are their influences? And there's probably a list of people, and you could watch their content, watch their influences content, and see the ties back to all of them, right? So.
Right.
At the end of the day, the audience is the creator and the creator is the audience. And the problem isn't with one or the other. It's just with the fact that we're all choosing to be entertained by something instead of truly thinking about it. And the entertainment is the outrage factor of it.
Right. And this endless loop, and we become our own worst do-nothing enemy. Meanwhile, every penny, nickel, dime is being stolen from us and sent anywhere the politicians want it, right?
Yep.
People are being arrested and charged with crimes they probably didn't commit. Prosecutors are lying. Attorneys are lying. All of these issues that we're aware of, and we keep getting hammered and told that this has happened. And yet there's not a single concerted effort to do anything but talk and cry about it.
Yep.
Right.
That's it. That is true.
Yeah. Well, it's been an hour. It's been a good hour there, Cletus.
Yeah. It usually is.
We broke records on YouTube. I might monetize with the 3 viewers we've had tonight. I really didn't expect any because everybody really expects me not to be streaming anyway, right?
Yeah.
I said that I'm like, so the audience was tamped down long before this stream ever decided to do this stream.
The fact that you haven't streamed and you've got subscribers is funny to me.
Yeah, I got 38 subscribers, and what is it? I think it is 38 of them, and I 35. Yeah. And I don't stream, but I do now. Anyway, no, I'm glad I brought you up here. I get a little off the handle, a little crazy, because it's mind-numbing to me that we can all that this many people can be as stupid as this many people are.
Well, I get off the handle and crazy in private, right? And then I come out of it and I start reasoning and rationalizing it and try to come to some type of voice of reason in the situation. So
yeah.
Well,
that's kind of why I brought you in here. You and I bounce off these conversations fairly well. We let each other speak our mind and complete a sentence,
Yeah, absolutely.
So it works out pretty well. And the best part about being the guy that runs the stream, you know what the best part of that is? Is I can hang up on your ass, boy. Oh, that's the most exciting thing I do to people I know. Right in mid-sentence, I just hang up on them. All right, listen, I'm going to close this stream down. I'm going to leave you with a couple of thoughts. The issues that we have in the world today can be solved by the people that are a part of this world today. We don't need politicians and corporate leaders to solve these issues. In fact, those are the very people that are causing the issues. And the only way to rein them in is for us to collectively come together, put our differences aside, okay, and work to make the world a better place. There's no other solution available to us. That's always been the solution. And sadly, that's always been the basis of which this nation was formed. And when people argue about the Constitution or bring that up to me, I kind of inwardly laugh. And that A, we don't even live our lives according to the principles of that document. And B, we're not even trying to. And so, yeah, we all need to start doing something different. And we all need to start taking a different course and not reacting to these outrageous things and outrageous comments and outrageous situations, but physically getting together to solve them. Do something, come up with an idea and see it through. So that's it. That's my stream. That's all I can say. I'm going to hang up on myself, but as a gentleman as I am, I'm only going to hang up on myself after I've completed my sentence. And I hope you all have a very good night.